Welcome back to a little bit of cheese, your bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast. I'm your host, Cody Depius. That is Sam Douglas coming at you back on a Tuesday. The Tuesday's a different vibe. I think I kind of like it. I don't know. We're going to have to stray away from the Mondays and Fridays, the whole 9 to 5 and traveling. That throws a wrench in things. But we got some time, I think, at least on Tuesdays, sort of keep this thing going. And over the course of a whole week, a whole lot of things can accumulate and a whole lot to talk about. We'll go through headlines at the top here of what we're going to talk about. I don't need to keep anything a surprise because nothing should be at this point, because every piece of news feels like old news, except for maybe the Brewers news, as Jacob Misiorowski has been called up. He will pitch on Thursday. We'll get into that. The Packers have released Jaire Alexander. Aaron Rodgers has been signed to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, once again, the highest paid NFL player in NFL history by $1 million. He got that contract to get up just $1 million over what Matthew Stafford got. You know what? Kind of love it. And then Giannis, he had a quote essentially saying that he wants to stay in Milwaukee. Once again, we probably don't need to dive too deep into it, but it's always nice to hear those little comments and the lack of subtlety, as Giannis hasn't really been much of a subtle person throughout his career, so people just like to freak out, and we're just going to talk about it. So we'll start at the top. The Packers releasing Jaire Alexander. How much of a surprise was this move for you when it happened?
It was a little bit surprising. I really thought that they were going to get something done with Jaire. He hung around. The general vibe about the situation started to sound like it was improving. They had an initial meeting, then they met more. Jaire said he wants to be a Packer, and usually the Packers are pretty quick on these decisions, and it feels like they finally just ripped off the Band-Aid. You know, to overuse a cliche, it feels right here. It feels like they tried and they tried and they tried. They weren't making any progress, and now it's time for the team to start taking reps. It wasn't there. We're gonna save the money. I'm sorry, Jaire, and it might be doing good by him to release him in this process, because now he can hit the open market, pick whatever team he's going to want. He's going to come out with a little bit less money. He's not going to get the same payday that was already on his contract. Right. So that kind of sucks, but he's going to have his choice of teams. I think he's going to pick someone that does play Green Bay. So I bet we see Jaire this year, if he's on the field, that is.
That's the big thing. And those are the quotes that came out, especially from Brian Gutekunst, like Jaire Alexander. He's a great player. Oh, looks like I might have lost my video here. See, I was telling Sam ahead of time about all of the things that I have to do to make sure my camera works, and I guess sometimes that just doesn't work, so we will shift gears and use a different camera. But Brian Gutekunst saying Jaire's a great player. It's just there have been too many questions up in the air of how much he's actually going to be on the field, and really, you can look at the last 4 years, and he's off the field as much as he's on it on game day. I understand where Green Bay is coming from here, and I understand where every other team is looking at this too. Especially, I know Green Bay was out there trading. That was reported. They had their trade talks, and nobody really had an asking price, knowing that they were also going to have to take on a big chunk of that contract from Jaire Alexander, and Green Bay didn't want to eat any of it. They didn't think that it was worth it, that they get any draft capital ahead of this last draft class, and in return eat some of that cap space, which with this move, it's pretty big, and it's good for Green Bay's future to look at it. I mean, these are the things that you weigh. Hindsight will be 2020, but where it looks right now, Jaire Alexander has not been on the field as a Green Bay Packer. If he is, this is going to suck. If he's out there and he plays every game of the season, this is going to be looked on as a bad move. You just cut space to cut one of the top 10 covered corners in the NFL, and that's probably your biggest position of need. And that's where this sits so weird with me. But they do save $17 million in cap. That'll help them go out and retain a couple of the free agents to be at the end of this season. So if you look at it, I understand where Green Bay is coming from, but they did not go out and they did not draft a replacement for him. They did not really sign a free agent that can cover on the outside like we expect. I know they say that Nate Hobbs can, but we haven't seen Nate Hobbs be able to do that. So right now we're just taking their word for it. And I don't know if I can do that at any point. I don't know if I can trust that Keyshawn Nixon can be on the outside. And we start to get down in that cornerback room, you get really thin. Like Kalen King might be your fourth or fifth guy this year, and I don't know if he can cover anybody in an NFL field, at least from what we've seen so far, which has been very little. I know they talk about the experience in the top three guys with Nixon and Hobbs and Valentine, but even Valentine, I don't know if he's a number three corner. I would love to see him explode, but where it stands right now, I hear this take, and I think I agree. Green Bay as a team, playing-wise, they got worse this week.
I have been a Valentine fan, so I got my fingers crossed for Valentine. I think he can make these plays, but there's no doubt. There's no doubt that the Packers did get worse this week cutting Jaire, because you don't see cornerbacks like Jaire come out where he's always on the ball. He can make an interception. He doesn't lack hands. He's absolutely deadly. He holds the top wide receivers in low numbers consistently. And here's the thing: the Packers consistently this year made plans to save money, and you can see that with their wide receiver drafting on Savion in that third round, drafting Golden. They're choosing to not pay more wide receivers. That mid-level wide receiver contract kind of sucks. I think Bateman for the Ravens just signed like 3 years for $30 million. I'm sorry, Romeo Doubs. I'd rather have a third round, a young wide receiver than like a mid-level wide receiver at that money. Now we cut Jaire, saving more money. There's got to be a plan. If there's no point in saving all this money if you're not going to spend it, right? The Packers, I think we have about like $46 million to spend right now on this roster. So let's do something with it. Are we gearing up to get Trey Hendrickson? Are we talking to TJ Watt? Like, is there a plan with this money? We're cutting costs for what? You know, this isn't baseball where it's just Antoniocio's checkbook is looking a little bit nicer. Mm-hmm. We don't have an owner who's just being stingy right now. There's got to be a plan, and I believe there is. I'm excited to see what we do. I hope it's more of a splash than an Aaron Banks, but there's got to be something up Goody's sleeve, right?
So they've already done some things. Of course, you talk about Banks, you talk about Hobbs, and then of course some lower level signings as well. What I was reading about this, and I'm not sure where it really pertains as much to this year, but they do need to free up cap space to be able to be bringing back a Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt, and then one of those two receivers, either Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs. With Christian Watson is going to be up in the air too when you talk about his contract, because he continues to get hurt no matter what it is. This last one, no, I'm not going to fault the guy. He blew out his knee. That wasn't due to any hamstring conditioning, because it looked like they had been on the way to fixing that problem, but then you see another problem arise. And this isn't on the player of Christian Watson, because he makes Green Bay a much better offense overall when he's on the field, but especially the way that they treated Jaire Alexander on the way out the door. If you're not available all the time, if they can't count on you, you probably don't see that contract. And that's why I think they want to go out and make sure that Quay Walker continues to be a part of this system. Like as up and down as the production has been for Quay Walker, he's been there, and he's a guy that's going to be leading this linebacker core in a veteran perspective, not necessarily in a production perspective, because that key is going to be handed over entirely to Edgerrin Cooper in the middle. What that kid's going to be able to do this year, the roof is the ceiling, as Michael Jordan might want to say. But bringing back guys, opening up more cap space for that's where I think they're looking. I would love to see them go out and splash and maybe look at a Trey Hendrickson. That's interesting. I think Cincinnati really messed up there, but I do see Hendrickson also as I think he's a 31-year-old edge rusher, where that's a lot to pay top dollar for.
We got to be a win now team. I mean,
I know,
right? Like, let's get someone on a 2-year contract here. I think Quay Walker is fantastic as well, but the Lions keep losing players. The Eagles are obviously a horse, but the Packers should be right there. We've gotten better and better and better the past 3 years. Yeah, we're a young team and we're saving money and we're built really well. So let's add that final piece and take us over the top, man. I really want to see this money be spent somewhere.
I would too. I don't know which corners are still left, but I know that there are a couple of guys and a couple of names I think that would make this team better for them to go out and get. I know Asante Samuel Jr. is a guy who's kind of been looked at as a bust, but I think he gives you more depth and he would not be that expensive as a contract. There are a couple of guys sitting out there like that. I'm really looking at the corner room. It's hard to say that I have faith that this defensive line is going to be better, but I do with this new defensive line coaching that is coming in. Like, it's hard to be worse than they were last year. I can confidently say that there has to be improvement. But I will also say talent's not going to hurt. It's just when I look at a Trey Hendrickson, that's that age range that Gutekunst stays away from. If you hit 30 or you start to get after 30, he doesn't go and attack. You go back and you think of the free agents that they've actually been able to sign. Those are 26, 27, maybe 28.
Julius Peppers helped out a little bit, didn't he?
That wasn't Gutekunst.
Sure.
That was all the way to Ted Thompson.
Actually, Gutekunst's first ever pick as a GM was Jaire. Fun fact.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, he has to go watch that. Yeah, it was 2018, which Peppers was brought in 2014. Yeah, he was part of that NFC Championship blunder team. So, yes, Julius Peppers is a guy that went out and helped, but Julius Peppers is also a first ballot Hall of Famer, which I don't know if the same can be said about a Trey Hendrickson. What?
First ballot Hall of Famer.
Trey Hendrickson is a first ballot Hall of Famer?
I think he is 100%. He's going to be if he plays another fourth season, his stack numbers are going to be top 20.
Okay, we'll see the longevity here on a Trey Hendrickson, a guy who does almost close to nothing for you in the run game. I love me some Trey Hendrickson, but we're talking. You think Trey Hendrickson is on a similar level as a Julius Peppers?
Not Julius Peppers. There's not many Julius Peppers,
that's what I'm saying. Like once you get above 30, like the production.
But a surefire Hall of Famer. I think he's on that path, no doubt. He took a little bit to blossom, but I think he's here. I don't know. I haven't been watching every single game of his. I just know he's been a dominant force on the D line and one of three guys in this league putting up those numbers for a handful of years now, right?
Yes. Well, I'll just pull up the reference page just to know that I'm also not thinking of this like a goofball, because I know he is a 4-time Pro Bowler. So you have a conversation there. It's been ever since he was in Cincy. And the only reason why I think this conversation hasn't really been in my mind is the fact that the first 4 years that he spent in New Orleans were, well, the first 3 at least you saw nothing, which year 4 explosion. So maybe there is time for Lucas Van Ness to really come up here. But I mean, the last 4 years you've seen it. But as I said, getting on to age 31, not a lot of guys keep that production up, and that's why they stay away from it. And $18 million is a lot of money. It is. And that's what he's going to be getting, or maybe even a little bit more. So we'll see where it plays out. I'm just trying to steer you away from this, Sam, because we don't need you to get closer to any ledges, because I don't see that as a Brian Gutekunst move. It's just he usually follows the path that he stays himself on, and that Hendrickson would be above. And I think even a TJ Watt would too, just for the fact that they haven't made the splashes. The splashes that I do remember them making, that's your Josh Jacobs, your Adrian Amos, your Smith brothers. All of those guys were like 26 or 27 when they brought them in.
I just think for win now teams, you got to go get somebody remarkable. It's not going to be Bo Melton. It's not going to be Taz Cameron. That's going to take your team over the top. I think, if you're in a win now mode and you have a really good team, you got to go get some serious dogs, and that's not Wisconsin's style. But when we did it with Drew Holiday, it worked out.
Yeah, I would love it. I agree with you. I'm just saying, probably not. Yeah. We've watched this team for too long. It's a good conversation.
Not Bo Melton.
Hey, Bo Melton. The reason Sam keeps bringing him up, he's taking up reps at cornerback because they love what he did on special teams last year, which, I mean, his brother plays cornerback in the NFL. We know he's an athletic freak, and we also know he's not going to be playing wide receiver anytime soon for this team. So kind of hanging on to an NFL career. If he can do it, special teamer, defense, maybe your 6th or 7th corner. Yeah, there you go, Bo Melton. Love to see he's a versatile player. Other big news, Aaron Rodgers going to Pittsburgh. I did not really expect for this to happen. I knew things were going on. I actually listened to Aaron Rodgers hop on the Joe Rogan podcast really nothing crazy coming out of that. I know he said that he has some people close to him that have cancer, but I didn't feel like throughout that 3-hour podcast of those two going at it that Aaron Rodgers is any closer to signing with anybody, but here he is. He's going to be a Steeler. Do you have any expectations?
I do, man. I'm higher on the Steelers than a lot of people if they can bring back T.J. Watt. So I got some numbers over the past 6 seasons for this Mike Tomlin Steelers run team. Pretty bad offense over the past 6 years. Pretty decent defense, and so this is their turnover to getting turnovers ratio rank in the NFL. Like first is they turn you over 10 times a game and don't turn the ball over. 32nd, you're turning the ball over a lot, not getting many. So the past 6 seasons, they were seventh, they were third, and this is their quarterbacks during this time was Mason Rudolph, Big Ben's last 2 years, Kenny Pickett, and then the Russell Wilson, Justin Fields situation. So these are struggling quarterbacks on a Steelers team, and their turnover ratio rank in the NFL 7, third, 13th. That's Ben's last year. He was real bad. Ninth, third, and then last year they were second in turnover ratio. They will turn you over, even though they've been turning the ball over. They're consistently a top 10, sometimes top 5 turnover ratio team in the NFL. So what if they go get a quarterback who doesn't turn it over? What if you go get the best quarterback ever at not turning it over and just play quality football for a veteran coach with a veteran quarterback and a defense that has consistently been one of the best in the league at turning it over? I mean, I see no reason to doubt the Steelers at this point unless they let TJ Watt walk because he is an absolute dog. But even if he does, this is a process that I believe in. It sounds smart. I don't think Rodgers wants to throw for 5,000 yards this year. I think he wants to protect his name a little bit, play some good football, go 11-5, 11-6. I think that's completely in the cards for the Steelers team, and save his name a little bit. So I still believe in Aaron Rodgers. And 2 years out of an Achilles is much better for a 40-year-old body than 1 year after it. So he should be feeling a little bit better, lower body, feeling a little bit better in his heart because he's a married man. That's sick. But yeah, I think number 8 in Pittsburgh is going to turn the clock back a little bit this year.
Number 8, also hard for me to continue to refer to him as number 8. But yes, Aaron Rodgers is a married man. We learned that earlier this afternoon. Maybe more on that later. I don't know. Stay tuned.
Oh.
Milwaukee Brewers have called up the hot shot, Jacob Misiorowski. Sam, you were asking this. You might have even been praying for it, but we got that news earlier today. The number 30 prospect in all of baseball, number 4 prospect in the Brewers organization. That's because the Brewers have done really well in the prospect rankings recently. There are some studs about to come up. And Jacob Misiorowski is the first of those studs. This is a 6'7", 207-pound monster that's going to blow by you 103 miles an hour with a wicked slider. It's going to be fun to watch. It also might be a little bit scary to watch. When he was in JUCO, he got his fastball up to 100 miles an hour. He said, yeah, learning I could throw 100 was one of the greatest days of my life. But that was also a point in my career when I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if I was on the inside of the barn, which is the reason why it has taken him a couple of years to get to this big league level. It's been the command for him. The stuff is as good as it gets. It's an 80 grade fastball, which anybody that's familiar with your baseball rankings for prospects, 80 is the top. He has the best ranked fastball that you could possibly have. It gets over 100, a lot of wicked movement on it. Great breaking ball, and he's actually worked in a changeup as well. He's much more of a 2-pitch mix guy, but those 2 pitches, they're wicked. I'm very excited. I want to hear your thoughts. I know you've been praying and waiting and just asking everybody under the sun, when is Jacob Misiorowski going to be on this team?
I've been waiting for this date for so long. Since he came into the Brewers program and he was pitching single A, then double A, then triple A. He moved up through the ranks so fast, and he's been in triple A for a little bit. That's why I've been waiting, because he's been knocking on the door just waiting for us in triple A. And he's starting on Thursday. This Brewers team needs a little bit of attitude. They need a little bit of juice. They need a little bit of excitement. I don't think I've ever seen someone of this physical nature be a pitcher for the Brewers. I mean, CC was huge. We had him for a few months, but I don't think we've ever had an animal like this in my lifetime. I'm stoked. It's going to be electric.
The closest was probably Ben Sheets. When Sheets came up, he was a gold medalist. Like he was that guy. He had the talent, which of course he had injury problems that kept him off the field. But he also wasn't throwing 103 miles an hour. No, this is probably the highest touted Brewers pitching prospect of all time. So all eyes are going to be on that Thursday game. As I'm terrible with my schedule, I don't even know who they're playing on Thursday. I know they have Atlanta for the next two. They might have them. No, they'll have a different team, I believe, on Thursday.
St. Louis, we got a 4-game. We got a big rest of the month actually. So we got 4 games against St. Louis, who we are neck and neck with in the NL Central. Then we play the Cubs for 3 games right after that. A big series there. Then we got 3 against Minnesota, who's also a 35-win team right now. And then we close out the month with Pittsburgh and Colorado, which should be a bunch of wins. So if we can take care of some in-division stuff over the next week and a half, and then close June out against Pittsburgh and Colorado like we should, we can be looking a lot different in the NL Central standings.
And that's why you bring up the young kid. Like, you could look at this rotation and say, yeah, they've been fine. I think they actually have the 6th lowest ERA. It might be in all of baseball for starting pitching, which is incredible to just look at the fact of how many guys that they have been missing this year. But the rotation has not been the problem. But you look ahead at this, you're probably going to need a couple extra arms for this stretch. I mean, St. Louis, they're a couple games up. They've been good all year. They're going to be able to hit. Chicago is always going to be able to hit. Then, of course, you want to end that stretch with maybe a couple of sweeps against Pittsburgh and Colorado. But this team, after the 8-game win streak, they ended up actually winning a series against Cincinnati, then lost 2 out of 3 against San Diego. I think they got shut out twice in that series. I don't know. They did not hit well. They only had 13 hits in those 27 innings. And the hitting still didn't come back yesterday against Atlanta. They did face Chris Sale, which you want to talk about first ballot Hall of Famers. Boy, he's still got it. He's so fun to watch pitch. But they'll be back in action tonight. I believe Chad Innings Eater Patrick. No, Quinn Priester actually is going to get the start on the mound. Yep, and then on Wednesday you will get Chad Patrick. So you get the 2 young righties, essentially the same pitch profile mix, and see if the Brewers can take care of business. This is an Atlanta team that had really, really been struggling this year. They were 10 games under 500, but you look at that lineup, you know how talented they are. I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta gets hot and that this is actually a good team, but to this point, it's a team that you want to take care of business against. I just want to go through a couple of Jacob Misiorowski numbers because I do have them. This year in AAA, 4-2, 2.13 ERA. In his minor league career, he has pitched 233 and 2/3 minor league innings. He has 320 strikeouts in that time.
Oh, my Lord.
And he was doing it with 2 pitches without knowing where those 2 pitches were going for most of his professional career. And neither did the batters, so they just closed their eyes and swung at it anyway. And you're gonna see some silly swings from this kid when he comes up.
That's awesome, dude. That's electric. More than a strikeout an inning. These guys are guessing where it's going to go. Theoretically, this is an awesome arm. If he ends up in that middle relief spot, kind of like we talked about, that'd be fantastic. It's just a matter of how we can use him best, getting him reps, getting him comfortable. Because now when you're playing in the bigs, these guys do see 103. Oh, yeah. You know, not normally, but there's 103 pitchers out there. This is not 103 in minor leagues is different than in the bigs. So the command is going to have to be there. Otherwise, he's going to get rocked. But theoretically, man, if he's throwing 103 and he's got a filthy curveball that'll drop off on you, this is good TV. I want to watch it.
Jacob Misiorowski will sit at about 99 to 100. He'll pump a couple 101s. 103 he threw once, but just so you know, he does have it in the tank. It's in that back pocket when he gets to the end of a start. But he's a guy you also look at for length. I mean, he's been averaging just over 5 innings pitched over his starts this year. So he's not going to give you much more than that. I don't expect that they try to push it, especially as young and he is and as wiry as he is, like 6'7", 200 pounds. That's not someone you're going to look at as a sturdy frame and not someone you want to push physically, but you're going to have a lot of fun watching him. We'll have him tuned in on Thursday as they take on St. Louis. I have a quote here, and it doesn't really mean much. Giannis Antetokounmpo said, "The finals are different. I hope to get back soon with the Bucks." This isn't a surprise for any of us. Do you have anything to say on any of this? I know it's just the big national news that you read when you just type in Bucks into Google, and that's kind of all we have to talk about right now. But you got anything to say?
What news? It's never been news this whole time. It's almost like every time Giannis talks about staying with the Bucks, he says, "I want to stay with the Bucks." And then ESPN goes and says, "Where's Giannis going?" And then Giannis is like, "I'm staying with the Bucks." And then ESPN says, "Who's going to trade for Giannis? He's open to other teams." It's Giannis wants to be with the Bucks. The Bucks do not want to get rid of Giannis. They will be a contender as long as he's there. And if this is how Giannis stays in the news in the offseason, that's fine. He's staying in Milwaukee.
Yeah. No news. Didn't have anything to add. I know that you've been telling us this the entire time. Oh, now Sam does have a point.
That being said, as far as Bucks news, quick shout out. PJ Tucker did retire. Bucks don't get a championship without him. I got to give a shout out to PJ.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're 100% correct. Nail on the head. Without PJ Tucker, you don't have a ring. Like, that's bottom line. What he did for that team that year will always get remembered in Bucks lore. Like, we'll tell our kids about PJ Tucker, and he only played with us for a couple of months. Like, we'll also tell our kids about CC Sabathia, but like, same impact that they had on the franchise. But of course, a ring does feel a lot better than even a division championship. And PJ Tucker bringing that one home for the Bucks. So shout out to him. I'll actually go into our cheese grater. My first cheese grater question is a Bucks one. What is the biggest goal for Bucks free agency? And this can be either re-signing somebody or somebody that you want to target, a position group. What are you thinking if you're John Horst?
Young, athletic players. That's it. We have an opportunity to not necessarily like flip this roster and flip the clock. Kind of like when the Warriors, they didn't completely retool their roster. They didn't go through years of rebuild. Steph got injured for 1 year. They got some younger guys. They got a little bit of a younger team, brought Wiggins in, who ended up being a major player, and they went out and got another ring. They got to get the right guys. It kind of sounds cliche. I've really been loving the thought of Lonzo Ball recently, actually. But some 27 to 29-year-old guys, someone's going to throw Giannis an alley-oop, keep us in transition, play good defense, and Giannis is always going to make the shooters around him better. He's made Grayson Allen a bunch of money. He made Malik Beasley a bunch of money. He is a wing shooter's absolute dream to have on his team. So when Giannis is on your team, you'll shoot a little bit better. It's just a matter of getting some tenacity. And you know what? I'll say attitude. To bring that all down, I want the right attitude. I want someone who's going to be aggressive and young, a little bit of a dog out there, dude.
Hey, LeVar Ball wearing a Bucks hat. Like, I can see that now. And I mean, we've all done that, like on NBA 2K, like getting Lonzo to the Bucks somehow. Like, I don't know if I'm the only guy, but certainly been there, certainly had a fun time. I think Milwaukee would too.
Former second overall pick, man. He's really, really talented. Just got a little bit of an injury bug. I think you can get him at a really good price and have a kind of a stud on your team. Prince Fielder, one of our Brewer favorites. What was his highest batting average ever as a Brewer?
I know he was over 300. I would say 315 sounds about right. I don't think he ever got over 320.
He hit 313 with Detroit. He never got over 300 with the Brewers.
Really? Then it'd be 299.
In 2009 and 2011, Prince Fielder hit 299 for the Brewers.
Yeah. I mean, the average is always there. And like a guy that could consistently hit 38 home runs for you every year. So you take it always. But yeah, never got to 300 with the Brewers. That's kind of I know in Detroit, he didn't hit for as much power and hit for a lot more average. But I thought he had just 1 year with Milwaukee that he did.
I
But
love
no,
it.
Sam stumped me there.
2 years at 299. That's tough.
He was a vegetarian, I heard at one point over his career.
Oh yeah,
Was it his whole career?
I think so. I heard that at one point. He might still be vegetarian. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to him recently.
Boy's eating a lot of greens. uh, I got a good one here for you. Could have asked it before, but I held it in the back pocket. Give me an expectation for Misiorowski, even just for the stat line against St. Louis. That's a team that's going to just be ready to smell fresh blood and attack.
Less than 3 walks. So I think if 2 walks is fine, depending on the innings that he pitches. Keep him at 4 innings. I want to see some strikeouts and not many walks. Control is 100% the issue. Everybody knows it. The batters are going to know it too. They've got a little bit of a scouting report. They're going to say, make him throw you strikes. So if he can get the strikeouts, I want to see in 5 innings, I want to see 4 strikeouts and 1 walk. I think 1 is fine, but 4 strikeouts or more in his first 5 innings. That's the bar that I want to see. Anything less, I'll say, all right, kid, step it up. He might finish with 15 strikeouts after those 5 innings. Who knows?
Oh. Is he getting more than 15 strikeouts in 5 innings? That's the question for you guys.
We'll find out. We'll find it out. Watch Thursday. I'm gonna be streaming that on some internet website. Who knows? The Brewers have never been a 100-win team. They've gotten to 96 twice. Can you name one of or both of those years?
82 in 2018.
2018 is one of them. In 82, they were a 95-win team.
82, they were 95. Then it was probably 2021. I know that team won a lot of games.
I think they were at 93, a little bit earlier. Still in this era, though.
No, it was 2011. Okay.
Dang.
Yeah.
Isn't that awesome? 2011 and 2018 are the Brewers' 2 highest win totals ever.
I mean, it's also kind of sad when you think about it. Like the one Brewers documentary you can watch, Just a Bit Outside, is about the year that they still couldn't win the World Series. It's a 2-hour documentary. Which, I mean, I tell all my at ESPN Lacrosse, John, he's a Yankees fan. So I kind of tell him about that documentary. He's like, wow, your guys' one documentary is about the World Series that you couldn't win. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just how you live as a baseball fan. Like, especially as a Brewers fan. I don't know. There will come a day, right? Like, this team can't be this good for this long and not just find a way.
Salary cap is going to be the bane of the Brewers' existence as long as they're in Milwaukee. There's no salary cap and dudes are going to LA. But hey, it's baseball. Anything can happen. You saw Diamondbacks go on one heck of a run a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So bells get hot. Anybody's got a chance. Got to happen. I don't think it will, but it's got to.
Hey, we watched a expansion Miami Marlins team, Florida Marlins team back in '97, winning with a bunch of ragtag guys, and then sell off those guys, and then accidentally win another one 6 years later in 2003 with a bunch of other rookies. So it's a weird sport. If it's the one sport I could see it happening with the financial situation and the lack of salary cap like that. It is baseball, which is why I think we are still at a point where there's no salary floor or salary cap. My last one, I kind of teased it a little bit before. Who is Aaron Rodgers married to? You can go any which way with this answer. You could even be correct here because I don't know the answer to this question.
Joe Rogan. I got no idea. I thought about Googling that on my drive this afternoon too. I don't know. Good for him. He's seen how much his personal life has been dissected and torn apart and criticized by the media. All of his words, get spun. He does not do himself any favors, but yeah. The media has taken his professional interviews and brought them into his personal life. So props to him for getting married, keeping it private. If that's their goal with it, I completely stand by that. But married Ben, that's cool. Good for him. Needs it. It's going to be good for the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Aaron Rodgers and I got married in the same year. You can always take that one to the grave. I'll get to put it on electric. see how long his marriage lasts. But
Brett Favre only had a passer rating above 100 once. It was 107.2. His other best was 99.5. Can you tell me when he had his 107.2 passer rating?
oh, either 94, 95, or 96, and I'll probably say 96 because that was the number one team, number one offense in the NFL.
2009, when he was 40 years old with the Minnesota Vikings, Brett Favre had by far his career best passer rating. I thought that was a nice note as Aaron Rodgers is heading into Pittsburgh right now. I think, there's a chance that we saw it with Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, and Tom Brady all recently. Like these are three of the guys. They all switched teams late in their career, had pretty good success, man. I'm holding out hope for number 8. I want to see him have success out there.
Minnesota had a lot of weapons to work with as well at that time. Like having Adrian Peterson out of the backfield definitely helps with any play action, and everybody and their mother's cat knows that Brett Favre and play action are another marriage made in heaven. But I think that'll do it for us today. Very good tidbit there on Brett Favre. I was not going to get that. I know that was one of his better years in his entire career, but 107 that's ridiculous.
4th in MVP voting that year.
Yeah. Oh, who did get it? Was that a Brady year?
Was that AP?
No, AP was 2012. I don't know. We did this before on a long card ride to Lambeau. We'll have to go back and we'll have to figure that out and get some answers for you for the next episode. 2009 NFL MVP.
Peyton's always a good bet. Peyton won a whole lot
is certainly
in a short amount of time.
Yeah, that's true. My bet would be on Peyton Manning. Well, that's going to do it for us today. I think Tuesdays are good for us, Sam. You like Tuesdays?
It's a great day of the week. Top 7 day of the week, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'm definitely top 7, at least top 8. So we'll see you guys next Tuesday. I'm Cody. That's Sam. This has been another edition of A Little Bit of Cheese, your bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast.